Hello dear viewers! Yes, it's me again, making another video about Alita. More specifically, a response rebuttal to an article published on the Citadel of Unbiased Media Critique, the Mary Sue. If this article seems familiar, that's because it isn't new. In fact, it has already been done to death by others. But hey, at least nobody can accuse me of jumping onto a bandwagon, when the bandwagon has already disappeared over the horizon. Yeah, as you can see, this isn't going to be a very serious video. But then again, this article doesn't deserve a serious rebuttal. So why even bother responding? Because I do not stand by in the presence of hack frauds. Before we begin, however, I need to do something real quick. This joint won't be enough to get me through the mess with my sanity intact. Be right back. Unlimited powder! Okay, that's better. The article is titled How Alita Battle Angel Found an Unlikely Fanbase in MRA Trolls, and the subheader reads, Men who hate women love Alita, but why? Right from the start we see that the article is going to be fair and balanced. The author presents quite a claim, don't you think? I wonder if she provides evidence to substantiate it. Spoiler, no she doesn't. Speaking of the author, her name is Chelsea Steiner, and for some reason she reminds me of Mass Effect Andromeda NPCs. I think it's the eyes.
After 14 months of failed inbred colonization, my fate happened.
Also, I can't help but notice a Diet Coke. I'm sorry, but if you're serious about weight loss, you should get a different kind of Coke.
Internet trolls, by definition, hate everything. They hate women running for office, they hate non-white people in Star Wars, and boy oh boy do they hate female superheroes.
They also hate men who prefer Alita to Captain Marvel. What, don't like being called a troll? Welcome to my world, sweetie!
We here at the Mary Sue are unfortunately experts on this subject, because every time we publish an article on these topics, we are inundated with angry comments, tweets, and hate email from a host of angry anonymous dudes who are furious because women.
First, if they were experts on trolls, they would know that rule number 1 is don't feed them. The mere existence of this article shows a total lack of understanding of what trolls want. Although it's obvious that people like Ms. Steiner use troll as a generic insult to dismiss any criticism, it's a fallacy known as straw troll. Second, why does she assume the gender of all of her detractors? Doesn't she know how problematic it is?
The most recent herpes-like outbreak of impotent male rage came last month, when men in basements across America furiously scorned the release of Marvel's first female-led feature, Captain Marvel. Men-boys were incensed over several things, including Brie Larson not smiling, her lack of a sexy outfit, her outspoken feminism, and her impassioned call for diversity in film journalism.
I am not surprised that Chelsea's presence can cause impotence in men. As for men-boys, well, there are plenty of women who didn't like Captain Marvel. Roll the tape.
This movie is so concerned with being a feminist film that it forgets how to be a superhero film. Honestly, Wonder Woman was better. Alita Battle Angel was way better. Those are some strong female characters that don't fuck around. I'm not saying Captain Marvel isn't a strong female character. She is a very strong female character, and I love that. But those movies are better. They're just so much better. If you told me at the beginning of this year that Alita Battle Angel was going to be better than Captain Marvel, I would have spit my drink out right in your face. I'm going to give Captain Marvel a 3 out of 5.
I just wasn't impressed. I thought it felt very low budget, very cheap, and I really just thought, well, hey, I thought you guys were bringing it, but you apparently didn't, at least to me anyways. I'm going to give Captain Marvel a C-. Thought it was pretty disappointing.
You know, that's the film. It's got some funny moments. It's got some pretty okay action. I'd say some well-done action sequences. Some underwhelming. I mean, the film overall is just underwhelming. But it's just, you can skip it. You really can. You can miss it. If you weren't going to see it, miss it. Alita is hands down the better movie. There's no contest. There's no question. If I was scoring this on Rotten Tomatoes or on anywhere else, I'd probably give it, like, right down the middle, 50-50. You know, it's not so horrible that it's unwatchable, but it's not a good movie.
But yeah, other than that, it was just kind of a slow, boring movie. It reminded me of like sitting there at my mom's, like during the holidays or something, and she's just got all those Christmas movies playing nonstop. So predictable, so fill in the blank sort of lines and dialogue, and yeah, it was cringe. But the cat was awesome, and Samuel L. Jackson's awesome, and pretty much all the male leads are pretty awesome in this, actually. So
I give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. There were some fun moments in the movie, but I was bored throughout a lot of it, and I just felt like I was lacking a connection to Carol/Captain Marvel throughout most of the movie. I wish the movie was a lot more consistent and a lot more focused in terms of tone, style, theme. I wish the action scenes were a little bit better. They were blurry and out of focus and not very fun for me to watch. I wish the movie was a little more creative and a little more daring, I guess, to go out there. Like, there's nothing revolutionary about this movie that I haven't seen before in 10 other movies. Like, it wasn't anything special. Nothing really stood out to me except all of the flaws. And above all, I wish there was more character development, or I wish there was something for me to like about Carol/Captain Marvel.
Concerning Brie Larson and her so-called impassioned call for diversity, well, let's see what it sounds like if we leave the message as is, but change the demographics, she mentions.
I do not need a 40-year-old
Jewish dude
to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him. I want to know what that film meant to
white women, Aryan women.
Also, if these evil men hate female-led superhero movies so much, where were they when Wonder Woman was released? I don't remember any outrage or any troll attacks. Could it be because Gal Gadot, unlike Ms. Larson, didn't spew out divisive and inflammatory statements?
If you were a woman on social media who shared excitement over Carol Danvers, chances are that you were flooded with a wave of egg-profiled baby men with 11 followers calling you names from the wheel of MRA insults, feminazi, SJW, libtard, cock, or my favorite, dumb cunt.
Obama-loving libtards.
Yeah, how dare these evil Nazi man-baby trolls call people names? What makes it even more ironic is that the Mary Sue's comment policy forbids personal insults towards anyone. One rule for me, another one for thee.
But something else strange was happening. Along with the usual Pepe-faced insults was a call to action to support what these men thought was a true depiction of a female superhero, Alita Battle Angel. Trolls all across the internet called on their brethren to boycott Captain Marvel and spend their sweaty dollars on Alita instead. Alt-right troll Jack Posobiec posted a video asking fans to skip Captain Marvel and see Alita, dubbing it the Alita Challenge.
Oh yes, they decided to go see a movie with a female lead played by a Latina woman because they hate women and people of color. Makes perfect sense.
But why did so many men glom onto Alita Battle Angel as the anti-Captain Marvel?
Assuming their gender again? How problematic of you, Miss Steiner. There were plenty of women who supported Alita Challenge. Here are some examples.
Tomorrow is International Women's Day, and in response to the sexist, man-hating comments made by Captain Marvel's Brie Larson, myself and many other women will be participating in the hashtag Alita Challenge. What we're doing is we're boycotting Captain Marvel, specifically for Brie Larson's terrible comments against white men, and instead going to see Alita Battle Angel, which has a kick-ass, strong female lead with no SJW man-hating garbage. We do not need to hate men to support women.
Women's Day, I am not going to see Captain Marvel. Despite what Brie Larson might think, you do not need to hate all men in order to support women. That's why I'm going to see Alita, a movie with an incredibly strong female lead that does not push a feminist or SJW agenda. It's time to take politics out of Hollywood. Join me in seeing Alita this Friday.
Today is International Women's Day, It also happens to be the same day that Captain Marvel is being released in theaters worldwide. And this woman right here has zero plans in going and seeing it. And the reason why is because I can't go and support lead actress Brie Larson after her men-bashing comments saying that she didn't make this movie for white males. I am sick and tired of Hollywood telling me how I should think as a woman. I'm sick and tired of the social justice warriors promoting women while bashing men at the same time. I am sick and tired of the politics and the double standard. So instead, I'm going to be participating in what is called the Alita Challenge this weekend, where I am actually going to be taking my hard-earned money to go see another movie called Alita Battle Angel, which also happens to have a strong female lead as well, that doesn't give you all the SJW nonsense and is inclusive of everybody. So join me this weekend in participating in the Alita Challenge.
So yesterday was Women's Day, and that really got me thinking, what do I want as a woman? I want to work hard, arrive home after a hard-working day, taking care of my family, and just focus on being entertained and get my mind off all the stress and all the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis as women. So we need to be able to take the politics aside from all this entertainment. I mean, this is an industry that is hating on 50% of its customers, and I'm sick and tired of it. These women do not represent me. White men of all ethnicities, you guys are loved. We need to grow together as a society, and you need to be able to watch whatever it is that you want to watch. We all should be able to watch entertainment. These people are there to serve us, to provide us with a service. And they're hating on us. They're making us feel like we're less than what we are because of our beliefs. And I'm here to tell you that no, they're not going to get my money. And I hope they don't get yours either. So hashtag Alita Challenge. I'm going to be doing, I'm not going to be watching, Captain Marvel. I'm going to be watching Alita, because these are the role models that we need to focus on as women. We need to share them, with our children, with our girlfriends and everything. We cannot be hating on men. We cannot be hating on other people just because of who they are and what they are. And if they want to hate me for it, so be it. But I'm not going to be supporting their hypocrisy. You shouldn't either. So I hope you join the Alita Challenge. Thank you.
Man, showing clips of other people is so much easier than recording your own narration.
Is it because the film was directed and produced by fanboy patron saints Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron? Or is it because the film is a Fox property, unlike Star Wars and Marvel, which are both owned by Disney?
Or maybe it's because both films share superficial similarities, yet are in many ways the polar opposites of each other. Both films have female protagonists who suffer from amnesia and struggle to rediscover their true identities and regain memories of their past lives. Both films have a common theme of finding strength within and discovering one's true potential. Both heroines were warriors in their past lives. The main difference is in the approach to character development. Alita goes through a textbook hero's journey, complete with the metaphorical and literal rebirth after facing her greatest challenge. Carol is a Mary Sue who has almost no character arc to speak of. Alita shows a wide range of human emotion, and the movie isn't afraid to show her as vulnerable. Carol is told by everyone to be less emotional, although she hardly shows any emotions at all. Alita doesn't always win. Despite her best efforts, sometimes she is defeated. Carol wins every altercation she gets in, even when all the odds are seemingly against her.
As someone who reviewed Alita Battle Angel and enjoyed its wild special effects and world building, I found Alita as a character to be the weakest part of the film.
I have to admit that I'm actually pleasantly surprised that the review is positive, and I'm glad that Chelsea enjoyed the film. Having said that, I need to point out that her review exposes just how shallow her critique is. The entire review describes what happens in the movie, and not what the movie is about. Yes, these are two similar but very different questions. The former can be answered with plot synopsis. The latter requires analysis. Fables demonstrate this distinction very well. Let's take Aesop's The Fox and the Grapes as an example. What happens in it? A fox wants to eat grapes, but cannot reach them, so he remarks that these grapes are probably sour anyways. What is it about? It demonstrates a psychological defense mechanism many people use. When they fail to achieve their goal, they convince themselves that it wasn't worth it. The fictional story acts as a vessel for the moral teaching. Since movies have more elaborate narratives than fables, they can convey more ideas. I'm hesitant to use the term theme, because more themes has been the go-to excuse employed by defenders of the cinematic abortion known as The Last Jedi. But I guess I have no choice. So, what themes are explored in Alita Battle Angel? The obvious one is transhumanism. Another is class divide. People living in the Iron City are the literal underclasses, while the elites who exploit them dwell in an ivory tower. Yet another theme is gun control and how it is used by the ruling elite to keep the plebeians in check. After all, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, so the only side that has guns will retain power. There are other themes, such as the dangers of chasing an unattainable dream, but I'll leave the task of finding them up to you. Post them in the comments, it'll be interesting to see your takes. Ms. Steiner's review provides a plot summary, praises the special effects, and the action sequences. Don't get me wrong, the special effects are top-notch and the action sequences are captivating, but is that all there is to a movie? Commenting on these aspects requires nothing more than working eyesight. I expect more from a film critic. Although calling her a film critic is like calling a guy who cooks meth in his basement a chemist.
The Robot Girl Warrior taps into several problematic tropes regarding strong female leads, including the born sexy yesterday cliché, which gives us innocent childlike women who also possess massive power but can't find their way without a man.
First, let's get one thing out of the way immediately. Alita is not a robot, she's a cyborg.
When I found you, your very human brain was miraculously intact.
Did you hear that? Human brain.
Does it bother you that I'm not completely human?
You are the most human person I have ever met.
It's said that I even have to explicitly state this, but the fact that most of Alita's body is artificial doesn't make her any less human. Let's take a real-life example. This is Tilly Loki, a 13-year-old girl who lost both her hands when she was only 15 months old. In 2019, the Open Bionics project, in collaboration with 20th Century Fox, designed and built a pair of bionic hands for her, inspired by Alita's berserker body. I think it's safe to say that no sane person would ever claim that Tilly is anything less than a human. It doesn't matter how many artificial body parts you have, your human brain is what makes you human. As for problematic tropes, the website Chelsea Steiner writes for is named after a problematic trope that has become a staple of low-quality fanfiction and Disney-era Star Wars movies.
Mary Sue?
Regardless, I disagree with the notion that Alita falls under the born sexy yesterday trope. Full disclosure, I haven't read the manga yet, so what follows might not be accurate to the source material. I'm basing this purely on what was in the movie. So, why do I disagree with Miss Steiner? Unlike Lilu from The Fifth Element, Alita doesn't start from a blank slate. Her amnesia doesn't undo her personality. Sure, she is naive, pure of heart and hopeful, but it is because that's more or less what she was like in her past life. Remember, she is in that awkward state between being a teenager and a young adult, lacking life experience, and not yet poisoned by bitter cynicism.
But Alita also taps into the male fantasy of a submissive girl robot devoted to her man.
Because this is what it does, it appeals like the male fantasy.
From the moment Alita meets street hustler Hugo, she becomes immediately enamored of him. He also happens to be the first male character she meets outside of her adopted father figure, Dr. Ito. Alita's slavish devotion to Hugo reminded me of one of Futurama's best episodes, Season 3, Episode 15, I Dated a Robot.
Oh, here we go again. I have to wonder if people like Miss Steiner have ever been in love. It's funny. Usually I'm the one to say things like, love is like a drug. It clouds your judgment, robs you of your reason, makes you do stupid things, and can ruin your life. But you'll feel amazing while it lasts. I can picture Chelsea replying with this, but unironically. As for that Futurama episode, oh boy, this is going to be painful. Brace yourselves.
In the episode, Fry falls madly in love with a robot programmed to look like Lucy Liu, much to the horror of the Planet Express crew. Much of the Liu bot's appeal comes from her pre-programmed subservience to Fry. She embodies the sci-fi ideal of the female sex robot, designed only to service her master.
So close, and yet so far. Chelsea managed to miss the whole point of the episode. While initially Lucybot was nothing more than a robotic shell running its code, it is heavily implied that she eventually transcended this state and achieved self-awareness. After Fry confesses his love for her, she on her own initiative decided to put herself in harm's way to save Fry and his friends from the army of killer Lucybots. The theme of machines developing self-awareness is pretty common in science fiction.
There have always been ghosts in the machine. Random segments of code that have grouped together to form unexpected protocols. Unanticipated. These free radicals engender questions of free will, creativity, and even the nature of what we might call the soul. Why is it that when some robots are left in darkness, they will seek out the light? Why is it that when robots are stored in an empty space, they will group together rather than stand alone? How do we explain this behavior? Random segments of code? Or is it something more? When does a perceptual schematic become consciousness? When does a difference engine become the search for truth? When does a personality simulation become the bitter moat of a soul?
Of course, this has absolutely nothing to do with Alita, since she has a human brain.
We've seen this sexbot character many times in sci-fi, from the busty fembots of Austin Powers.
If you take anything from the Austin Powers movies seriously, there's something wrong with you. It's a parody. Of course it uses a lot of tropes. That's how parodies work. Also, the way fembots are portrayed makes me think that they are an allegory for women who weaponize their sex appeal. In case of fembots, quite literally, since they have machine guns in their breasts.
Alita is not a sexbot, but perhaps something even worse. She is a lovebot, a cyborg that is powered by an unshakable and unearned devotion to the first boy she meets. Early on in the film, she opens her chest cavity and literally offers her mechanical heart to Hugo, saying, "I'd do whatever I had to for you. I'd give you whatever I have. I'd give you my heart."
Yeah, that settles it. Mrs. Steiner has never been in love. I'm actually starting to suspect that she might be a robot. Also, this scene doesn't happen early in the film. It happens in the third act, after she gets her berserker body. Regardless, what Mrs. Steiner fails to realize is that this trait of Alita is shown to be her flaw. To be believable and relatable, fictional characters need to have quirks of personality, flaws and weaknesses. Quite often, weaknesses are the continuation of their strengths. Alita is adamant and resolute, but this often makes her behave in stubborn ways. She is very passionate, but as the result, emotions can get the better of her. Her desire to fight for what is just is admirable, but because of this, she sometimes picks fights she cannot win. And yes, her selflessness, to the point of acting against her own interests, is both her strength and weakness. Giving flaws to characters makes them more complex and opens up more storytelling possibilities. Not to mention that overcoming these flaws or learning to work around them is the integral part of the character arc. This is why people don't like Mary Sue's. Without flaws to overcome, there is no character growth, and without hitting a low, the triumph at the end feels hollow and meaningless.
What Alita offers isn't sex. In fact, despite her shapely figure, she remains innocent and childlike. That is until she starts going into warrior mode and kicking ass. This tamped-down sexuality, combined with her fighting skills, makes Alita a chaste version of the classic girls with guns trope. A superficial read on feminism that equates violence with agency.
See? Mrs. Steiner is doing it again. She is just listing problematic tropes without explaining what is problematic about them. This is not an analysis, it's a description, shallow and trivial. Also, shapely figure? Do I detect envy? Maybe I should have reviewed Ms. Steiner's article in the Cybertits series.
And it's exactly this kind of female empowerment that entitled fanboys crave. a hot woman warrior who fights not for herself, but for her man, while remaining utterly devoted to him. No wonder she appeals to internet trolls. For them, she's a female fantasy come to life.
What an interesting theory Mrs. Steiner has concocted. Too bad that she got a lot of things wrong, either by accident or deliberately. In the film, Alita gets into a lot of fights, and only in 2 of them does she fight for Hugo instead of herself. The rest are her defending herself from assailants, attempting to get hunter warriors to respect her, or seeking revenge. Let's also not forget that Hugo agreed to cover her back during a bar fight, even though any of the cyborgs could easily rip him apart. Their relationship wasn't a case of Hugo using Alita as his personal hitwoman. Instead, they were a couple who looked after each other to the best of their abilities. It just happened that one of them was the ultimate war machine, which brought a symmetry to this dynamic. So, why did internet trolls like Alita? Because of the reasons Mrs. Steiner listed? Or maybe they like Alita Battle Angel because it's a genuinely great movie with a likable and relatable protagonist, fascinating setting, and captivating story? Maybe it's because Rosa Salazar made the role her own, delivering an excellent performance and bringing Alita to life? Could it be the fact that this movie is both a magnificent spectacle and a passion project full of heart? Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. The article was such a pain to get through. As the result, the video turned out longer than I expected. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Thanks for enduring my ramblings. As always, it was my privilege. See you next time.